Standby please, electric sound, wardrobe, wig, stage management, stage crew, flies and all technical departments.
Welcome to Leave the Ghost Light On. Hello. Welcome to Leave the Ghost Light On podcast / you can watch it also. What does that make it? A video
web series?
Podcast. Oh, it's a web series. Look at us. We're smart. My name is Danica Janelle Jackson. I use she, her pronouns and go. Oh, that side.
And I'm Jill Horn, and I use she, her pronouns.
Hello.
Hello.
So Jill and I have been friends for some amount of time that includes many years, and now I don't know how many years it is.
10 years. Because what, we met in 2014, 2015, but we didn't become friends until 2015.
2015, yeah. Oh,
because it was the summer when those humans that we kind of somewhat lived with went off to summer stock and we didn't. So
someday I'll pull out the giant amazing painting that we did. Maybe I'll just throw that up on our Instagram.
Ooh, that's smart.
Because I definitely still have it on my wall. It's amazing.
Oh, good. I'm glad that that's still going through.
Oh yeah.
All of the moves.
Every single place I've ever lived since we painted it has been on my wall. It is made of plywood and it's real heavy, but it's forever going to live.
But yeah, didn't we painted that while watching, wasn't it like Rosemary's Baby?
It was really.
And I'm not like a horror movie person, especially when I was younger, but I think
it was like neither of us had actually seen it, and we're like, I mean, what the hell? It's right there. I mean,
yeah, Rosemary's Baby, why not? While we paint a beautiful painting
and drink a lot of wine. As
drink a lot of wine.
Jill, what are you drinking right now? And out of what vessels?
Oh my gosh. Well, I've got a whole
plural.
Yeah, I know. I've got a whole combination of stuff. Well, because it's noon my time and I woke up like 20 minutes ago, I'm drinking coffee out of my Zumanity Cirque du Soleil cup, which is sadly closed, but was a fantastic show. I've got my Sweeney Todd water cup.
Yeah.
And then for later, when I am finished with my coffee, I will be drinking Jack and Coke out of my Winchester Mystery House cup.
You're so cool.
I'm going to be so hydrated.
Let's see. I've got water in my Beetlejuice, the musical cup.
Yes.
Yeah. And then, of course, some Jura scotch. We're not sponsored, but we should be. Hey, Jura, I love you.
I've never had that with you before, right?
This is I was introduced to this by the absolutely beautiful and wonderful Sky Bronfenbrenner.
Oh, yes.
So thank you and hats off to Sky for introducing me to what has become my favorite scotch.
Nice.
And yes, I do it neat with, let's call that a finger.
2 fingers? How much have you had to drink already? Maybe it was like 3 fingers. No.
No. It's almost 4:00 my time. So
yeah.
I already went to work today, so
yeah, you've already done your work. You can calm down.
That's fine. You can calm down.
Calm down. You can relax.
Jesus. I don't know where I was. Anyway, so we're friends.
We were talking about what we were drinking.
Oh, yeah.
And where you got your scotch from.
Thank you, Jura. You're welcome, Jura, because I paid you money, so whatever. Anyway. Cool. So first, I guess let's give some background about us and like what the hell is going on here and why we thought this was a good idea.
Yeah. I mean, well, we're both theater people. For one, we're both actively in theater and working in theater.
True.
And I don't know about you, I'm assuming so, but I'm a big podcast listener and I've kind of always wanted to do it, but I never could think of like what subject matter am I interested in and could easily like figure out things to talk about. And it was like, we just randomly talked about it, like a couple of days ago. And it was like,
Yeah, it was like last week.
yeah,
like,
I think I texted you and was like,
it's so
I
good.
want to do a paranormal, but so many people are doing paranormal. And you were like, theater paranormal. And then I texted, Ghostlight.
Gasp.
Gasp. And it just all kind of like came together. So,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't know. Are we saying where we work?
Sure.
Okay. So I am currently working at Cirque du Soleil in Las Vegas as a technician, not as an artist. Woohoo! So at O, where I do scuba diving, which is extra unique, but then on the theater aspect of it, paint and do props and carpentry and all that fun stuff. So I've been there for like 5 years.
That's wild.
I know. This is the longest that I've ever lived in a city.
Ooh,
ever.
besides,
by like 3 years too.
Well,
like usually
like Memphis, but yeah.
Yeah, well, Memphis doesn't count. That's where I grew up. Oh yeah, that's where we met.
Oh, that's where we met.
But yeah. What about you?
I currently work at North Carolina State University. I am the assistant director of performance. Not that there is a director of performance, but because I'm a teaching faculty, that's what I have to be called. I'm not actually labeled as faculty because we don't matter, because it's the arts. No! Sure feels like it. But yes, I teach acting. I'm a director by trade and by training. And I'm actually currently serving as an actor for the first time in a few years. This is the first time that I've done it by choice in like 15 years. Because,
as opposed to like having to step in.
Yeah, as opposed to 3 years ago when I was directing Assassins and one of my actors dropped out literally a week before we opened. And I was like, I know it, I'll do it. So I did it.
Cool.
It was really fun, but this is the first time that I've like, I read the script and my colleague and I were going back and forth with like who was going to direct each of them, because they are companion pieces. There's two pieces that go hand in hand that are happening at the same time. And I read it and I was like it's good. And I would direct it, but like, I really connect with this one character. Can I just act in it instead? And so, yeah, so she has actually directed both pieces, which is monumental task in itself.
Nice.
But it's been fabulous. And it's called The Great Beyond by Stephen Dietz. And the companion play is The Ghost of Splinter Cove.
Nice.
And they're fabulous. Highly recommend. And this is we're going into our last weekend of shows. It was a 3-week show. So yeah. And I have a fabulous cast of humans that I get to work with. Some of them I've worked with before. Jess Barber, she has been my choreographer for both Urinetown and Jekyll and Hyde. She's incredible. She's also a director and an actor and everything. She plays my sister in the show. And then Abby Fralix, she played Sam Bick in Assassins for me a couple years ago.
Nice.
And she plays my girlfriend in the show.
Oh, fun.
Fabulous.
Meanwhile, I'm just over here pushing scenery around and doing the same thing every day.
Listen, but those performers could not do what they do without you. So let's remember that, all you performers. So yeah.
I try. I do my best. At least with the scuba diving, like I feel like I'm like pretty involved. So
yeah.
Because as a scuba diver, I'm doing like safety stuff. So like every day, like when they're diving into the water and all that kind of stuff, we're there to be like, you good? You good? So it's fun.
Yeah. The important shit.
It's exciting.
For me, I actually did not see many Broadway shows until like 2 years ago. No, 3 years ago.
That's how I was too. I feel like I mean, my first one that I saw was Moulin Rouge. No, it wasn't Moulin Rouge. It was I think it was Phantom of the Opera, actually, because I flew up there for my birthday in like 2017, somewhere in there.
Okay.
But yeah, and then Moulin Rouge is what like really kicked it off, and then the beautiful pandemic that shut everything down, and I was like, oh my gosh, I gotta go start seeing stuff. And then went from seeing no Broadway shows to seeing like 5 a year. So
yeah,
take my money.
Like I saw the very first show that I saw on Broadway was when I was like maybe 12. Because my grandparents lived in Nanuet, New York, which is like maybe 2 hours away.
Yeah.
By train. And then that was Bombay Dreams, which no one has ever heard of, but it was phenomenal. I get tired just thinking about it because it was Bollywood style dance. It was really cute. I loved it. But then I didn't see anything on Broadway until 2022.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That wasn't with me. No, that
because
wasn't with me.
The first one I saw back on Broadway,
Beetlejuice. I knew it.
and that was with the fabulous Steve Gonsalves, who is of Ghost Hunters fame, because he is by far the biggest fanatic of that musical that anyone will ever want to meet.
Yeah, didn't you say
when
he
I
saw
saw
like
it with
a million
him
times? Yeah.
Yeah, when I saw it, that was his 16th time seeing it. And then by the time it closed, he had seen it 27 times.
Oh my gosh. I mean, okay, that sounds ridiculous, but to be fair, if I lived in New York, that would be me with Moulin Rouge. So
yeah, I mean, I would have done that with Hadestown. I've seen Hadestown twice.
Yeah, I've seen it twice. Once on Broadway with you, and then once on tour. But I've seen Moulin Rouge on Broadway. I'm looking at my playbills to like. Yeah, I saw Moulin Rouge on Broadway 3 times. The last time being Aaron Tveit's Last Night, which I specialty flew in for.
Oh yeah,
worth it, worth every penny. And then I also saw it in Boston for
that's right.
premiere, which was incredible because I saw it on, it wasn't opening night, it was technically like a preview night, but they had 2 weeks of previews, but that was when like nobody knew anything about it, so we were all just like mind blown. They had to stop the show at one point because everybody wouldn't stop clapping. So if you're familiar with the show, it was what is it, Backstage Romance, that that song just killed it. But anyway, yeah, they literally had to stop and be like, everybody calm down.
Damn.
So, but yeah, and then I've seen it on tour twice. Yes, twice. Once in LA and then once in Vegas. So
that's like when I saw Shucked, because Alex Newell was playing, I don't remember the name of their character. Whatever they play. People would not stop.
There we go.
Like we almost did a standing ovation for them. Like, and they just had to like stand there and like be chill. Just be like, yeah, I know.
Yeah, it was, I remember in, like I said, again, if anybody has seen it, then you'll know what I'm talking about. But so Aaron Tveit originated, the role in Boston, but at the very end of Backstage Romance, they hold this note and the stage like elevates. And then he does like this crazy like backbend thing and just like holds it, and like Satine's in the middle and everybody's around her. And so he's just literally like knees bent, flat on the ground, and like everybody's just clapping nonstop. And he's the one who like after like 45 seconds finally like sat up, turned around, and did the whole like, okay,
damn,
let's stop.
Damn. Wow.
So yeah, no, it was good. What was, here, I got a question for you. What was the last what was the last show you saw, and what was the last Broadway show you saw?
Sweeney. No. Once Upon a One More Time.
Once Upon a One More Time?
Yeah, the Britney Spears musical.
Oh, okay. I was like,
because my friend Cliff is one of the producers. He's also one of the producers for Hadestown. What's up, Cliff? Hi, you're great. I love you. But I saw that the night after we saw Sweeney. Because that weekend I did Hadestown.
We only saw one show together, right? It was just Sweeney.
Yeah. No, we saw Spamalot.
Spamalot, that's right.
Yeah.
That was a big weekend.
Yeah.
So,
because I saw. Yeah, because Back to the Future was the visit before that, and Shucked was the visit before that.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah, I did.
That Was Broken was the visit before that. Yeah. So yeah, it's most recently Once Upon a One More Time, which
nice.
I will say, yes, it closed very quickly. But it's real cute, y'all. It's
Yeah.
real cute.
Nice. Yeah, I think the last one that I saw, last Broadway show, was that same weekend that we were there together.
Mhm.
And I saw Lion King with my friend Matt.
Oh yeah,
Because my friend
that
Zeke,
Lion King that's right behind you.
that one actually, yep. But yeah, I have a friend Zeke who is in The Lion King and is the understudy for Mufasa. Mufasa. But yeah, so he was nice enough to get us some tickets. So
Awesome.
So yeah, but yeah, that weekend we were there for what, like 3 days, and I
Yeah.
saw
four shows.
Spamalot, Sweeney, and then me and Matt saw, oh gosh, what was it called? Doubt.
Oh yeah.
Like, it's the
Oh,
word
yeah.
that the show ends on. I was like, what is it?
Oh
But yeah,
wait.
Doubt.
Oh wait. I'm a liar. Sweeney is the last one I saw
Okay.
because we
Yeah, when you
left.
said that, I was like, you left the
Yeah.
next day. When
Yeah.
did you see the
Sweeney's
show?
the last one. Yeah.
But
I'm wrong.
yeah, and then we ended with Lion King. So yeah,
Solid.
which was pretty awesome because I've seen Lion King from like the back. Again, like I knew Zeke was in it, so I went and saw that actually right before seeing Aaron Tveit on his last night in Moulin Rouge. But yeah, but Matt wants to be, I guess, Scar at some point. So it was like, let's go. We got a nice little like backstage tour and everything. So
That's rad.
it was pretty nifty. So it's a good show. I would go see it again. But yeah.
My goodness. All
Is
right.
it
So everybody, I guess now it's time to start talking about the things that we're here to talk about.
things that we're here to talk about
we did want to like give like a proper intro for like this is who we are and why we felt like we should do this.
Exactly. But this is in the end a paranormal theater tragedy podcast where we will talk about paranormal stories in theaters and tragedies and superstitions and all that fun stuff.
And also whatever we feel like.
A lot of.
Yeah. Oh man. Wow. Yes.
Yeah. Actually,
like almost every day I come up with like 5 more.
Yeah, well, actually, literally the podcast that I was listening to, shout out to, and That's Why We Drink, which is my favorite one. Actually, today, the podcast that I was listening to while I was getting ready, they were talking about a theater. It wasn't the focus. They were talking about a train station that goes through a theater. But I was like,
what? Okay, that sounds cool, though.
So, yeah, and it's in Arizona, so on my side of the country. But yeah.
Neat.
But yeah.
Well, I guess we'll start. So we decided before this that I'm going to start us off because mine is kind of a downer. And
you don't want to leave people being sad?
Not particularly. I mean, I'm really good at that, and like any of my colleagues and any of my students will tell you that like I am in it for the weird shit. Like I am here for weird, creepy, off-putting. Like that's me.
That's fair. Anytime that we do a tragedy, maybe that's what we'll do first.
Yeah, that's probably a good call.
Yeah, like, I mean, obviously, ghosts are going to come from somewhere, but in the end, it's not as sad. So, not as sad as whatever tragedy you're about to tell me. So.
Yeah, this one's rough, y'all. So, I guess warnings.
Let's hop into it.
I guess, let me do like content warning. Lots of death, as it is a tragedy, and just a little bit of graphic detail of how some of these deaths occurred. So just to put that out there. Okay, so this, Jill, and watchers and listeners, this is the story of the fire at the Iroquois Theater in 1903.
Ooh.
So according to and yes, I'm going to be referencing my notes a lot because I wrote a lot of them because I love research because I'm a director and I'm a huge dork.
Me too. I didn't expect that to be my favorite part of all of this, but like researching everything, I was like, oh my gosh, I just love this. Why wasn't I like this in college? I would have been a straight A student. So,
like,
but
maybe that's why I have 2 graduate degrees is because I'm a huge dork and I like research.
Should I go back to school? No, I'm not going to go back to school.
You're already doing what you want to be doing. Why would you?
I know, right? I don't need to go to school.
Anyway,
sorry. Go.
According to the National Fire Protection Association, It was the deadliest single building fire in American history, with a total of, we think, roughly 602 deaths.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wait,
It
I don't
is
think you
the-
said where it is. Can I guess where it is?
Yes.
I really don't know, but just fires, I'm gonna assume Chicago.
Chicago has kind of a bad rap for fires.
Yeah,
Huh?
it does. Wait, am I
There's
right?
a show called Chicago Fire.
Wait, am I right though? Is it in Chicago?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. That's
Oh!
right. So, which that was my next point. God, quit jumping ahead.
Sorry.
The
My bad.
Iroquois Theater, located in Chicago, Illinois, which is inside what's known as the Loop. This is actually now the site of the Nederlander Theater, home to Broadway touring shows and pre-transfer Broadway shows, where I actually had the very great pleasure of seeing Paradise Square before it transferred to Broadway, because a friend of mine, Nate Tyson, was actually the guy who wrote the lyrics. The what is now the Nederlander was then the Iroquois, which I will be referring to it as the Iroquois from now on. Opened on November 23rd of 1903. How many patrons, Jill? Here's your first trivia question.
Ooh, okay.
How many patrons do you think the Iroquois was intended to hold?
How many people did you say die? Is it 606?
602. Yeah.
Is it 602? No, I'm kidding.
Yikes.
1,000?
More.
2,000.
Not quite as many. Okay, so
1,500.
right in the middle, it was 1,602.
Nice.
patrons.
1,602. That means 1,000 people were okay. Anyway, sorry.
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing quick math in my head.
3 audience level, your normal orchestra seating, and then a balcony, and then a mezzanine on top of that,
Nice.
with also some box seating on the sides. It at the time that it was built, again, 1903, it was touted as being, quote unquote, absolutely fireproof. Now, womp.
That sounds like the Titanic.
Sounds like right. Thank you. Thank you. Maybe we shouldn't use hyperbole when
exactly.
we're
Yeah, let's not say that things are unsinkable and fire. I mean, maybe you can call things fireproof, but you know.
Okay. Though, in many cases, it does seem that developers paid off city inspectors to open the theater quickly rather than safely, which is what.
That sounds like a company I know of that I won't name.
Here's another fun fact for people that don't know. The reason, which this goes hand in hand with this, that Chicago is often referred to as the Windy City is not because it's really windy and blustery, which yes, it is, because it's right off Lake Michigan, blah, blah, blah. But it actually got that name because it was because of all of the crooked politicians, that they were windbags. They were full of wind.
I didn't know that. Huh. Yeah, I thought it was the weather. So nice.
Now it is. Is it? Having lived in Chicago for about 3 years, yeah, yes.
Yes to both.
Verified. Okay, so now let's get into the story. So, 1903, there is, this is now December 30th of 1903. There's a production of a musical comedy geared towards children of a show called Mr. Bluebeard by Wood and Collins. This is based on the French folktale of Bluebeard. Do you know the story of Bluebeard?
I don't.
Ooh, that was one of my trivia questions, but I guess I'll give it to you. It's based on, so this French folktale, which is just called Bluebeard, is a man, this actually became a colloquialism, Bluebearding someone, this is so bad, y'all. A man who murdered his wives, plural, and hangs them on meat hooks in his basement.
Ew!
And then his newest wife comes in and is like, hey, there's this like door to the basement. Can I like go check out what's in the basement? And he's like, I'd rather you didn't, so I'm gonna go ahead and keep it locked. And then one day he's like out of town and she like goes to check it out and she's like, that's a bunch of dead women.
Oh my gosh.
And so basically that's the story of bringing him to justice, or maybe just killing him. So
Didn't you say this is a children's show?
that's right, a comedy for children.
What? I guess it is the early 1900s, so I mean, anything was up for grabs, I guess. But what?
I'm glad you caught that.
I was sitting here like, did I mishear
You
you?
heard me correctly. A musical comedy for children.
For children about killing your wives. Okay.
So the show had been relatively low attendance in the weeks before this, but on December 30th, 1903, yes, that is just 6 weeks after opening its doors for the first time, there was a sold-out house with even standing room only patrons were lining the walls. Some were even sitting in the aisles, which maybe now know is not a great idea.
No.
This, again, because this was December 30th, this was a holiday season matinee. So the audience was mostly women and children. Some reports, there's varying numbers of this, but some reports place the audience numbers at close to 2,200 people.
Whoa! So that's
remembering that 1,602 was the max capacity for the seating.
Oh, okay. So there's a lot of
extra,
people.
Some kind of math number that's large.
Yeah. I have a feeling that fire codes aren't a thing yet.
Oh, we'll
you
get
have a
fire
limit
codes. We'll get there. We'll get to fire codes. Don't worry.
Oh, no. Okay.
Against the Chicago fire ordinances, even at the time, which required separate stairways and exits for each balcony, there was only the one entrance to the theater.
Oh, so it's like no matter what, like everybody can get to the
all the balconies had to enter and exit from one grand staircase in the middle of the foyer. That was it.
Sounds very pretty.
It sure was. And also the backstage area was actually unusually large. There were dressing rooms on 5 levels.
Whoa.
So because the production of Mr. Bluebeard itself had roughly 300 performers.
Wow.
It was basically a vaudeville show. So it was like lots of different acts coming in and out, but Mr. Bluebeard was the like main attraction.
Yeah.
But they had like high wire people, they had all kinds of different performers, but it was around 300 people.
That's a lot.
Jill, next trivia question. What do you think started the fire?
We didn't start the fire. I mean, I'm trying to think.
Either take a wild guess.
I was gonna say either a candle on stage or like the lights on stage, something like that. I'm gonna assume a lighting instrument went wrong.
Was. You are actually correct. So
always what it is.
I mean, back before when we had gas lights, everybody was like, "Oh no, that's a bad idea." So we're like, "Okay, well, we'll do electricity, and that'll be way safer." Turns out, in this circumstance, not so much. So, at approximately 3:15 p.m., because again, it was a matinee, the actors began the second act of Mr. Bluebeard. 16 performers began the song "Let Us Swear It" by the Pale Moonlight, which is actually a really beautiful song. I've listened to it. It's really cool. And they actually had the Pale Moonlight was created by some really interesting lighting effects, spotlights, and various other cool lighting instruments.
Nice. Probably very like exciting for the time too.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. And the calcium spotlight, which is AKA...
I don't know lighting instruments.
You totally do.
No, I don't. A gobo. That's the only light I know.
Limelight, Jill. Limelight.
Oh, limelight.
Even Josh comes at this rate.
Oh my gosh. So here's the thing is that I'm a theater technician, but I only know everything, not everything, but things about my subject. If you ask me anything about lighting, sound, I got nothing.
That's
literally the only light I know is a gobo.
That's just you know what a gobo is, right?
Yeah, I know. It's like the little like thing that you put in there and it makes a shape.
If you get that wrong, okay. Anyway, so a calcium spotlight which is
Okay, limelight.
also known as a limelight because it's calcium lime anyway.
Oh my gosh, that makes sense. I never thought about that.
It short-circuited and it arced, so created that arc of the electricity, and it ignited one of the stage curtains. So initially, though, nobody panics because, again, it's a fireproof building. Who cares?
It'll be fine. Yeah.
Stagehands attempted to stomp out the blaze, and they're like, "It's cool, we got this. It's just a curtain. It's fine." But it climbed up the side of the curtain as well, and then it climbed across the curtains into the rafters, where there were other scenic pieces stored, including other soft goods and painted drapery and paints themselves, like,
oh my gosh,
things that are combustible. And then one of the lead actors, who was a very well-known actor at the time, Eddie Foy, he attempted to keep the crowd calm. The orchestra played on. He was just like, "Hey, we got this. Fireproof building. We got this under control.
This is normal."
And then of course, like you do, they deployed what's called the fire curtain.
Oh, good. I was going to ask if they had one.
Yes. So fire curtain deployed. It's made of, and at the time this was very normal, it was made of asbestos and wood pulp. And because asbestos just happens to be fireproof, mostly fire retardant. It's not like fireproof. It can catch, but it'd have to be really hot in order to actually catch.
It's like everything, well, maybe not literally everything, can catch on fire at a certain temperature. So.
Right, yeah. But it got stuck less than halfway in.
Ooh.
Yeah. Any attempts to manually deploy it were unsuccessful.
Oh, okay.
And actually, a chemist who I did not write down his name, but a chemist who later tested that fire curtain found that it would have been of no value in a fire because the asbestos to wood pulp ratio was so far off, because they cheaped out on that fucking thing to the point that it was just like, it's a fire curtain. We got one.
It's a fire curtain if you call it a fire curtain.
That's right. Correct. So
they don't need one anyway. It's a fireproof building. It's fine.
It's fireproof. Who cares?
Yeah.
Oh God. So after that, a large number of actors and crew, which again, close to about 300 for this production, attempted to flee out the stage door, which was located on the upstage wall of the theater, as many of them typically are.
Yeah.
However, this is where the real problem starts. The draft created by opening this door. So we've got the fire. It is right here.
Yep.
Mostly, I think it was mostly stage left is where it starts. And then this draft, when you open that upstage door.
Yep. That makes sense, because I talked about that in my, I do lots of fire stuff at the show that I'm at, and I talk about that in my fire safety stuff, that drafts in the air are a big deal. So that makes sense.
Why is that?
Because of the air currents. It's going to blow it all crazy directions and oxygenate it and all that fun stuff.
And oxygen fuels fire. Ding.
Yep.
So the draft that was created by opening this door caused, of course, an instantaneous fireball.
Fireball.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm leaving that in.
Okay.
So this draft that was created by opening this door caused an instantaneous fireball, as one may have assumed, which then engulfed the two balconies because it's a direct shot from the stage door.
Oh my.
Whoop, yeah. When the panic finally set in for the patrons, it was too late. Here's where it gets really heinous.
Okay.
Of 30 exits, there were 30 exits in this building.
Oh my gosh.
27 had been locked. And a few of them were not marked.
Oh my gosh.
And many of those, I don't have a number of this, but many of those exits were concealed by flammable draperies.
Oh my gosh. This building was trying so hard and failing so hard.
Big time.
Yeah.
Then they had stairways that were blocked with accordion-style locked steel gates to prevent people with inexpensive tickets from moving into better parts of the theater. There
remember when we
were
said Titanic?
right. Remember that?
Well, this building came before Titanic, though. Maybe Titanic
Yes.
saw that and was like,
What a good idea!
"Good idea, guys."
Get those poor folks out of things.
Okay.
Yeah. So of course there were no alarms. There were
Mhm.
no sprinklers at the time.
Yeah.
No telephones or water connections. There was
Jeez.
no fire alarm box. And some people did manage to find their way to unfinished fire exits with no way to get down. Yes, exactly. That's the correct face. With no way to get down, they
Oh my-
began jumping off.
Oh,
The first people to jump mostly died on landing.
yeah, that's fair. It's
Their
probably a
bodies provided a cushion for the next group to safely land on the ground.
Oh my gosh, that's horrible.
Uh-huh.
Oof.
It gets worse. Just wait. The staff had never performed a fire drill, and worse still, some even refused to open those locked exit doors.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, granted, they were probably teenagers at the best because child labor, and they had never had a fire drill. So why would they know that? Why would they know that?
Yeah.
Skylights on the roof of the stage that were intended to open automatically during a fire, which so great idea, would allow smoke and heat to escape.
To go
They
out,
were fastened closed.
Oh my gosh, they just did not think, like, again, this building, like, it makes sense that they thought it was going to be fireproof. It sounds like they have everything, not literally everything, but everything for the
sounds
time.
like-
But
of
it's
the
like,
time, right?
but it has to be open. Oh my gosh. Okay.
So, and continuing the horror, doors that could have served as exits became immediately bound with the trampled bodies of those attempting to escape, as these exit doors were designed to open inward,
Oh my gosh. Please
which
make me
trapped
mad.
even more bodies behind them as they were forced open.
Oh my gosh.
And if you have time, anybody watching, listening, I highly recommend listening to the LibriVox collection, which details this in its entirety. It is so eloquent, and actually the guy who does the reading of it kind of sounds like Orson Welles, so it's kind of cool.
Really very soothed while like
it's so good. It's it's a really interesting voice. But so here's a small snippet, and please note, this is absolutely awful.
Oh my gosh.
With prayers, curses, and meaningless shrieks of terror, all faced their fates like rats in a trap. It was a scene, I'm going to cry. It was a scene to wring tears from the very stones. No words can adequately describe it. And that is direct quotes from people who lived through this.
Oh my gosh.
And not only survivors, but first responders. Highly recommend listening to this. It's abhorrent, and but it's also beautiful. Many, although, were able to escape into the foyer or lobby of the theater, as we call it, where they were actually safe from the fire.
Oh, okay.
However, due to the inept designs, many hundreds were trapped, trampled, or asphyxiated. Occupants of the balconies were locked in a death struggle with one another. Quote, the dead covered a space 15 or 20 feet square and nearly 7 feet in depth.
Oh my gosh.
From people trying to get out of either balcony. Because they all converged into the one
area.
space because of the one fucking exit. Because that's genius.
Whoever designed this building, just
don't worry.
Stellar work.
So in the vein of man, whoever built that, some allege that fire inspectors had been bribed with free tickets so that they would overlook the code violations.
Oh my gosh.
And many were charged with crimes, but conveniently, most of those were dropped.
Of course.
So who's held accountable? Nobody.
Nobody for 602 deaths.
That's right. That's right.
Oh my gosh.
So then post-tragedy,
Mhm.
the Iroquois Theater was rebuilt and opened as the Hyde and Bayman's Music Hall in 1904, and then it was renamed the Colonial Theater in 1905, demolished in 1925.
That's
And then
probably good.
in 1926, another theater was built on the site and named the Oriental Theater, which was finally renamed what we now call it the James M. Nederlander in 2019.
Oh wow.
Mhm.
Okay.
So, what kind of changes do you think have been implemented since this in terms of fire safety?
I mean, it's Chicago, so I would say none. No, I'm kidding. Um,
Yes.
um, I mean, I would hope that, like I said, it sounds like they had all, I mean, not all, but some decent ideas. So I would hope that most of it is just not locking the doors and having multiple exits that actually lead out of the theater and not just to a single exit in the theater.
Mhm.
So, and hopefully
That's
they fix
part of
that
it.
goddamn
There's also
fire
things
curtain.
like actually marking exits.
Oh yeah,
It's
with the
one good
illuminated
one.
sign. Hmm.
Mhm. Um, yes, the asbestos fire curtain
Hmm.
is now sometimes it's a sheet metal screen
Yeah.
um, to be raised. We actually don't do this anymore, as far as I know, in many places, but was to be raised before each performance and lowered afterward to separate the audience from the stage. So
Oh,
in case, like when nobody's there, if something
mhm.
happens, then it comes down automatically.
Yeah.
Um, one of the biggest ones is what's known as the panic bar, or we sometimes call it the panic bar or fire door,
Mm.
which has those breaker bars across
Oh,
the
yeah.
front of it. Most notably, they actually open out in the
Oh,
direction of
yeah.
egress.
The way that they
Who-
should.
Imagine
Mhm.
that! Imagine
Yeah.
that. So those are the big ones.
Okay.
Ah, yes. So of course, with a tragedy that humongous and with that many people having perished in such a horrible way,
Yeah.
there are lots and lots and lots and lots of paranormal sightings.
Oh, yeah.
There's actually something known as Death Alley, which is in Chicago. It is located at Randolph and Dearborn, which is where the Nederlander is. It's actually right
Okay.
behind the weird little alley back there.
Mhm.
Um, the reason it's called Death Alley is that is one of the spots that has the most activity in Chicago still.
Ooh,
It's
I didn't know
wild.
we were gonna get some ghost stories on this, so
It's a little ghosty. I mean, there are numerous reports. You could just look
Mhm.
up Death Alley sightings.
Yeah.
Just many, many, many,
Nice.
many, 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 many.
Mhm.
Um, I've only been down there, like I said, the one time when I saw
Mhm.
Paradise Square. I
Yeah.
did not know about Death Alley at the time, so I didn't like venture back there. But yeah, maybe
Mhm.
someday I'll check it out.
Yeah. We'll find our way to Chicago one way or another.
Yeah, I
Mhm.
do love Chicago. I lived there for a couple years. It's near and dear to my heart, and I
Mhm.
really truly love that city. It's one of the only cities to me that has ever really felt like home. I love
Oh,
it. I miss it. It's incredible. I love it. Yeah,
well, let's go then. My
but
sister's going there this
um,
weekend. I'll tell her
oh
to
my
go to
god,
Death
yeah,
Alley.
right.
Death
I don't have
Alley.
anything doing. Wait, no, yeah. So I do have quite a few sources that I used for this. So I will list those in the show notes, and those will
Mhm.
be available through lots of other media that we have.
Nice.
But that is the story of the Iroquois Theater of Chicago in 1903.
Oh my gosh. Well, that is just horrible.
Yeah. Thanks.
No, it was good. It was good, but I mean, I've heard of, obviously like theater fires are gonna be the bulk of tragedies in general. Um, but I had no idea that there was one that was that
Mhm.
devastating,
Yeah.
like
Oh, and
6.
another horrible
Gosh.
fun fact is
Mhm.
so yes, it's still the most deadly single
Mhm.
building fire,
Mhm.
but it is also second in line in terms of national disasters, in terms of the amount of life lost of um, not disasters, sorry, national tragedies
Mhm.
occurring in one day.
Man,
Second only
I don't know.
to 9/11.
9/11, yeah. I don't know how I haven't heard of this. And so
Mhm.
that's cool.
Yeah, and actually, the reason that I initially heard of this, and this is something that I desperately need to talk about.
Mhm.
Okay, so I actually originally only heard about this story because I saw this show called Burning Bluebeard that
Mhm.
was at Theater Wit in 2013 when I lived in Chicago.
Mhm.
And it was created by a company called The Ruffians.
Mhm.
And this show actually ran for a very impressive 9 years before the pandemic
Whoa.
hit. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
This was a yearly production that they did.
Okay.
I've actually got a link in our show notes about
Mhm.
the Porchlight Music Theater that they eventually moved to.
Mhm.
But when I saw it at Theater Wit, and eventually it moved to somewhere else. But it's such an incredible show. And that show, just to give you a little taste, because I don't believe they do it anymore, but I really wish they would,
Mhm.
was the story of, I believe it's like 5 or 6 of the performers of Mr. Bluebeard that are
Mhm.
trying to tell you the story of Mr. Bluebeard.
Mm.
But they are basically the ghosts of those performers trying to tell you the story. And they are worried that they will never get to the second act because they know that once the second act starts, that's when the fire breaks out. And then they start telling you about what happened during the fire.
Oh,
It is
okay.
heartbreaking. It is so moving. It's
Mhm.
gorgeous.
You know, I
I
feel like
really
you've
want them to
told
bring
me
it back.
about this.
It was
So I
absolutely stunning.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
I
feel like
really want them to redo it.
yeah, I feel like I remember you telling me about it now. Like, I can't remember I think when you came and visited me in Phoenix or something like that, I remember
I
you
probably,
telling me.
yeah. I'm
Yeah, I
I'm
remember
sure
you
I've told
telling
you
me.
about that.
Mhm.
Yeah. But
So
yeah, it was just an absolutely stellar production, and I really want to get my hands on that script.
oh, yeah, that would be a good one.
Right. I want to direct that so bad.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, very good story, very sad.
Yeah,
So
thanks. Well,
Oh,
ma'am, it's your turn. What are you telling
alrighty.
me about today?
My story, which hopefully won't be as depressing because it doesn't have as many deaths in it,
Mhm.
is the New Amsterdam Theater, which is on 42nd and Broadway in New York City. So it is one of those nice, fancy Broadway theaters. Yeah, you
Mhm.
know, I'm not going to tell you what shows are in there yet, but I'm actually surprised. I've never seen a show in there. So,
Really?
mhm,
Okay.
yeah.
We'll have to fix that.
Exactly. All right, so I'm going to give you a little bit of history and
Okay.
what the New Amsterdam Theater has been through. So, the New Amsterdam Theater in New York City is the oldest operating theater still on Broadway.
Damn.
It opened, this is funny, on October 26, 1903.
Oh
So,
shit, girl.
I know we got 1903 stories going on today. But yeah, so it was designed by Henry Hertz and Hugh Talent with the goal to build the most spectacular theater possible. So the theater was super advanced for its time and had a heating and cooling system.
That is very advanced for
Yeah.
1903.
And then what blew my mind is it also had a way to humidify the air to where it was the same as like outside and it could all be changed within 10 minutes. I wish I could look up how the humidifying system worked because it sounded super cool. I can't find it anymore. It was literally like they like sprayed water in the air. I don't know. Anyway, I'm not going to try
That's
to
wild.
uh,
Okay, cool.
and I'm one of those dumb fucks that's like, 1903? How'd they heat and cool? There was no electricity. Like, literally, while you were telling me stuff in your story, I was like, when was electricity invented?
We went to college.
I know, right? But I didn't learn anything except for where the mitochondria of the cell is.
That's the
But as far
powerhouse
as
of
I'm
the cell.
concerned, yeah, electricity was invented in like 1940.
Don't tell my grandma.
Oh my gosh, I wish it was being
Holy shit.
sarcastic. Ugh, okay.
Oh my god.
And then the other advanced system that they had was a vacuum cleaning system.
Hey.
So from what I could tell, it was the kind of system where they basically have like the holes in the wall with the tubes that come out, and then it just like sucks it all down into like one area. So
That's kind of cool.
I know. I like how they're like thinking about the cleaning staff a little bit, because like patrons don't care about. So when it comes to the fancy parts of the theater that the patrons are actually looking at, so the lobby featured marble statues from Shakespearean plays, from different Shakespearean plays. The staircases, which were quite grand, were green marble.
Ooh.
Yeah, with oak banisters, which was pretty fancy for the time.
Amazing.
And there were murals and reliefs of various literary characters that ushered the audience into the theater of 1,500 seats. So,
damn.
This is my first trivia question. Danica, do you know what a relief is?
It's the thing where you carve. It's not carving into something, it's like carving out, right? Where it's like, I don't know how else to describe.
Yeah, no, I had to ask that question because I was an art major, everybody. And I kind of did art and then theater. So yes, you were basically right. A relief is basically just a sculpture, but it's protruding from the wall. So like a 3D object as opposed to like a statue that you can walk around.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. So like an example is like Mount Rushmore is technically a relief. The upper edge of the Parthenon in Greece is a relief. And then also the most obvious and well-known one is Han Solo being frozen in carbonite.
Amazing reference. Thank you. The end.
Thank you. But yes, so that's a relief. So inside the actual theater, the auditorium had a domed ceiling with curved walls and 3 levels of seating. So basically similar to what your theater was. And the proscenium was 40 feet high and 36 wide. So
damn.
Yeah,
that's big.
It was very fancy. And then the seats, which I feel like noting because we still use them today. The seat backs were walnut seat backs without a cushion that had a curve in them, and they became known as the Amsterdam back. So anytime that you sit in a seat that's horribly uncomfortable because it doesn't have a cushion on the back, we can thank them for it.
Thanks to Amsterdam.
Yes, but at the time it was very, very nice and fancy looking. So the first production, the opening production for the New Amsterdam was A Midsummer Night's Dream. And the designers of the theater, they kind of used that as their inspiration.
Shit, sorry, I just turned off my light. Here we go. Okay, wait, it's too bright. Okay,
you're fine. But yeah, the first production was Midsummer Night's Dreams, and so a lot of the murals inside of the theater had peacocks and female figures and cherubs, and then all throughout the lobby and inside the theater there's vines and flowers and all kinds of stuff. So it was very like mystical sounding.
I like
it
that.
took over a dozen artists to make all of this. So on opening night of A Midsummer Night's Dream, you would think that it did very well because it was the inspiration for, like I said, the interior architecture, but the show was a flop.
Oh
no. On opening night for the New Amsterdam, the only thing that people talked about the next day in the news articles was the design and the grandeur of the theater, and not even about the show itself.
Oh shit. So, oh, that's rough. I mean, I'm sure the architects and the designers felt amazing.
Yeah, they were like,
imagine being the performers or like anybody associated with that show. You're like, what am I, chopped liver? You know?
Exactly. Oh man, so that only lasted for a very short amount of time, very short run. All right, so the next show that was in the New Amsterdam was much more successful and ran for 14 years.
Damn.
So that was, I don't know if you've heard of this, but the Ziegfeld Follies.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah.
I feel bad. I hadn't heard of it, but I can be a bad theater kid. So the Ziegfeld Follies ran for 14 years, and it is essentially a vaudeville variety show that features chorus girls in lavish outfits. So, doing all their kicks and all that kind of stuff. So
doing kicks.
I know, right? Perfect. So then, do you know what came after that? After Ziegfeld Follies?
Oh, Calcutta. No, I don't know.
The Great Depression.
Oh, shit. Wow, I should have saw that coming. Oh, well.
I know, right? As soon as I read that, I was
They
like,
didn't either,
oh.
so.
So after that, the theater tried to basically stay afloat as a movie theater. In about 1937, that's when it turned itself into a movie theater and kind of stopped doing like live productions.
Okay.
And you could go see a movie there for 10 cents. How nice.
That must be real sweet. But
I know.
okay, here's the question. 10 cents then, in what year did you say?
1903 or 1937.
37. How much do you think that is today?
That's funny that you asked because I already did the conversion.
Oh my god, tell me. Can I guess? I want to guess. Okay.
Yeah, guess.
10 cents in 1930. You already said 30.
1937.
10 cents. $12.
No.
Oh.
$2.
Oh. But that's still, God, for a movie ticket?
That's what I mean. It was still insanely cheap. So, like, when I saw that, I was like, oh, that's still pretty nice. But yeah, so 10 cents would have been $2 now. So yeah, so essentially during all of this time, for the next 50 years, the theater just kind of fell into disrepair. It was never necessarily abandoned. It just wasn't being upkept anymore. And kind of turned into a bit of a dangerous area.
Yes.
Yes.
Then the 70s happened.
Yep, I was going to say, so in 1976, 2 armed guards were killed from a robbery that went wrong, and a patron was stabbed to death in 1979.
Jesus.
So this beautiful theater kind of really went downhill really fast. And in 1983, the movie theater itself was showing exclusively kung fu movies.
Yes! That's how you bring the patrons back.
I know, right? They're like, kung fu movies, that's what's making us our 10 cents. But yeah, so after 1983, so in 1984, the New York City Economic Corporation decided it was time to buy back the building and start to restore it and bring it back to life into its amazing and former glory. But after spending a measly $15 million to refurbish it, they gave up and abandoned it in 1985.
Can you imagine having that much money? A, having that much money to begin with. B, sinking it into something and be like,
not worth it. Like, yeah, after a year, they were like, nah. So from 1985 to around 1993, this building was essentially abandoned. This is when it was truly, truly abandoned. And because the refurbishing stopped midway through when they gave up, there was no ceiling essentially anymore. So the ceiling of the New Amsterdam had completely collapsed, and rain and snow fell inside the building for about a decade.
That's fine.
According to the New Amsterdam, actually, like their website about their history, there was 2 feet, this is quote, there was 2 feet of standing water in the basement and mushrooms the size of dinner plates growing throughout the house.
Yum!
I know, right? The terracotta sculptures were all cracked and the murals were all decayed and all messed up. So basically it was an abandoned, nasty ass building.
Yeah.
So in 1993, a new company, not new, but a different one, came along and decided to buy the building. Can you guess what that is?
Disney.
Good job.
Really? Oh,
it
shit.
is.
I was like, who's got money?
I know, right? Who's got money and is on Broadway right now? So in 1993, the Walt Disney Company signed a 99-year lease on the New Amsterdam.
Must be cool to have money. Man.
I know, right? And started refurbishing. It took 2 years and
That's it?
400. Huh?
2 years, that's all?
Yeah, I know, right? I'm impressed. It
Mhm.
took 2 years, $34 million, and then 400 plasterers, painters, and technicians to bring it back.
That sounds more correct. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
Than
they
12.
went hard on it. So this is a nice little fun fact, again, as me being a painter. A lot of the people who came in to redo the murals and everything, they actually painted them and glazed them to make them look like they were older, like they had
Oh, that's
aged.
cool.
So like they were obviously painted brand new, but then aged to make them seem more
That's
historical.
smart. I like that.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, I like that. So then in 1997 is when the building officially opened and let patrons come back in. It reopened with 1,700 seats, so just like 200 more. And it debuted the animated film of Hercules.
Hercules.
Mhm.
Oh, yay.
Yeah, and so they had like a whole parade and all this kind of stuff. But
Oh
yeah,
my
so
God,
that's
that's so
where
cute.
Hercules debuted.
Oh, that's so cute.
Yeah, and then later that year, they would open what is one of the most famous Disney shows on Broadway. Can you guess what that is?
Lion King?
Lion King. Good
Hey!
job. So Lion King opened October 15th in 1997. So 94
Oh
years
God, I'm
to the
100 years
month.
old.
Yeah, I know, right? 94 years to the month is when they reopened.
Damn,
Um,
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, so here's some fun little Broadway facts. The Lion King is the third longest running show on Broadway.
Can I guess the other two?
I was gonna ask you to.
Okay. Phantom.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh. Phantom, and it's been running on Broadway for that long.
Mm-hmm.
Lion King would have been my second choice.
Mhm.
Phantom.
I was actually surprised by it. It's not one that I thought of.
Chorus Line?
No, do you want me to tell you?
Yeah.
Chicago.
Oh, okay. That makes
Mhm.
sense. That makes sense.
Yeah,
Okay.
so number 1 is Phantom, number 2 is Chicago, and number 3 is Lion King. Phantom, because it's not on anymore, capped out at about 14,000 performances. Chicago was at 10,800, and Lion King was at 10,429, I think, when I looked.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I meant to ask Zeke, like, hey, what's the tally today? Because when I looked that up, it's probably at this point a couple of weeks old.
Yeah.
But I
Crazy.
did some quick maths just for my silly little theater brain. But fun fact, Lion King should surpass Chicago in about a year. So
Damn.
yeah, because
Wow.
Lion King does about 9 performances a week, so it should be about 400 a year-ish, 450 a year, depending
God,
on.
those actors. Oh my God.
No,
Can
I
you
know.
imagine?
Oh, I know. Zeke's body goes through a lot.
Because
But yeah,
he's ensemble and understudy.
Yeah.
Fuck, man.
I know. He's out on medical leave right now, but he should be going back soon. But yeah, so even though Chicago's back on Broadway right now, because my favorite lady, Robin Herter, is in it right now. Lovely lady. I don't think that counts towards the longest running because it's, it left and
broke up. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and it's just like a limited run. But yeah, so Lion King should become number 2 because I don't think they're going to be closing anytime soon.
That's crazy.
Right? I know. That's why I was like, I want to look this up. But yeah, so then the Lion King, I actually didn't know this. So then the Lion King ended up moving to its permanent location at I can't pronounce this name, Minskoff. Is that
it
what's
the
called?
Minskoff?
I'll call it the Minskoff. The Minskoff Theater in 2000.
I think I've heard it that way. So we're going to go with Minskoff.
Yeah, we'll go with Minskoff. But yeah, so it switched to the Minskoff Theater in 2006, and obviously the Lion King is still running today. So both times that I've seen it, it was in the Minskoff. And but yeah, so do you know what came after Lion King?
When did you say it moved?
It moved in 2006, and the show that came in after it was like immediate. It also came in 2006. The theater didn't sit empty for too long.
I'm gonna go Book of Mormon.
No, Mary Poppins.
Oh, okay.
Well, I mean, that was a good guess. Book of Mormon also isn't Disney.
Oh,
Everything in there now is Disney.
Yeah, but Book of Mormon was much later. That was a dumb guess. I'm sorry.
No,
Sorry, everybody.
there's no such thing as a dumb guess. So Mary Poppins ran from 2006 to 2013. And then I promise this is the last thing that I'll ask you and put you on the spot.
I like
What
it.
do you think is currently playing in there now? It opened in 2014 and it's still there.
Ooh, in 2014.
Mm-hmm.
The New Amsterdam. Oh, Aladdin?
Aladdin!
I thought you were just singing me like a little singing song. I'm such a moron.
No, you got it. But yeah, so
That was
Aladdin. Aladdin is in there now. So Aladdin opened in 2014 and is still in there. They thought they were going to have to shut it down after the pandemic, but they ended up bringing it back. So, and I have never seen Aladdin. So because of those three shows, I have never been in this building. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, that's wild. I haven't either.
I know. So that is the lovely history of the New Amsterdam. And now it is time for the ghosties. We're all here. So the most famous ghost in the New Amsterdam Theater is a woman named Olive Thompson.
I've heard of this.
Yeah, she's apparently she's pretty famous.
Is it they have like a portrait of her, something you have to like
don't skip ahead, jeez.
I mean, what are you talking about?
Yeah, you are correct. Okay, so a little history on Olive Thompson. Olive Thompson was born in 1894 in Pennsylvania. She grew up in kind of a poor family and was required to work at a young age, but she was rambunctious and wanted to break out of her boring life. So at the ripe old age of 16, she married a man to try and escape her dreary life,
like
as
you
do when you're 16.
Yep.
But that wasn't enough for her. She was a very free spirit, and so 3 years later, when she went to visit her aunt in New York City, she said, "See ya, husband," and literally just left him behind.
That's my girl.
I know, right? She's like, "You're not enough, and I'm going to New York City."
That's a hero right there.
Right? So at the age of 19, she abandoned her husband and ran away to New York City. She became a pretty instant sensation because she signed up for a contest to find the most beautiful woman in New York City. And she ended up winning. And winning meant that her portrait would be painted by a famous painter. Mm-hmm. And because of that, she was soon in lots of magazines, advertisements, and her face was everywhere. That's so cool. I know. She's kind of awesome. I'm not going to lie. I mean, she's a nutcase, but she's awesome. So eventually, she found herself in the Ziegfeld Follies.
Oh, my God.
Mm-hmm. So that's what brings her to the New Amsterdam Theater. She was very popular at the time. She was just a chorus girl, but she was the most loved chorus girl.
And the prettiest, obviously.
And the prettiest. I've seen pictures of her. She's good. Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's hot. Yeah. But anyway, so she was she was so attractive that she got the attention of Florence Ziegfeld himself. Ooh. And had an affair with him.
Oh, spicy.
And spicy. So because of that, he promoted her to the feature star of the late night male only performances.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. Get it, girl.
Oh, man. Okay.
Right?
Get it, Olive.
I know. So after a short time, she ended up leaving the theater to become a silent film star. Okay, so after a short time, she eventually left the theater to become a silent film star. And she was actually the first flapper ever seen in film. So whatever you think of like what the famous, black and white flapper is, that's her.
That's rad.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, that's her. During this time, she married a man named Jack Pickford because screw that other husband. He's out of here.
Did she like divorce the other one, or that like now she's kind of like?
I don't think she did.
I
think she's just flying by her own.
That one, it's not real.
You're just like, nah. I'm out of here.
It's amazing.
I know. So she married Jack Pickford, who was the brother of a very famous movie star, Mary Pickford. So,
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Mhm.
I was like, I kind of know that name, but maybe I don't know why I know. Okay. Mary.
yeah, I looked up some movies that she's in, but I don't know silent film very much.
No
But she was a
one
very
would.
big silent
Yeah.
film movie star.
That's cool.
So I have a quote. A famous screenwriter, Francis Marion, said this about Olive and Jack. So this is a quote. They were the gayest, wildest brats who ever stirred the stardust on Broadway. Both were talented, but they were more interested in playing the roulette of life than in concentrating on their careers.
Oh,
So it sounds like they were a sassy couple.
you know what? That's goals.
Uh-huh.
Hashtag
Right?
goals. Like,
I know, right? Hashtag goals.
Jesus.
However,
Wow.
though, maybe not hashtag goals, because their marriage was apparently fairly tumultuous.
Ooh.
So,
Well, can't have it all.
they got into a lot of trouble. They drank a lot, did a lot of crazy stuff. Eventually, they got in trouble with the law. It doesn't say how. And ended up fleeing to Paris.
Oh,
What a place to flee to.
oh darn! I guess we gotta go to
I
fucking
know.
Paris.
Oh man, we got in trouble with the law in America. Let's go to Paris. So one night in 1920, Olive and Jack had been partying, and Jack had passed out, and Olive stumbled into the bathroom. This is where things take a turn. She took a drink from a flask and immediately started screaming, waking Jack up.
Ooh.
The flask ended up not being alcohol or potentially water, but probably alcohol, as she hoped, but was instead mercury dichloride.
What? Why was that in a flask?
So the reason that they had that was because Jack and his crazy self had syphilis.
Oh, I
And
should have
so
guessed that.
that was the medication at the time to
Okay, but
relieve the
first of all,
syphilis.
okay, fair, but why is it in a flask?
I know. Yeah, so there's some controversy, I guess. Essentially, she did end up dying. She died at age 25. And
God.
I know, she died so young. She was so awesome. But there are rumors that maybe it was suicide, probably not, because she was kind of awesome. Or potentially murder. People think that maybe Jack was attempting to murder her, which is why it was in not a medicine bottle, but something that she would have accidentally grabbed. But in the end, her death is marked as accidental poisoning. So, and
Damn.
Jack, bless his heart, only lived for like 10 more years after that. So, so who knows?
Wow.
But yes, so that is how Olive met her end. So, not with a bang, but with a mercury.
with a mercury
dichloride to cure her husband, not to cure, but to relieve her husband's symptoms of syphilis.
Oh God.
So yeah, so that is the story of while Olive Thompson was alive, and now we are going to switch to when she came back to the New Amsterdam Theater. So Olive essentially seemed to have returned when Disney took over. So when Disney started to restore the theater, people started to see things, essentially. Olive apparently really enjoys the attention and typically appears only in front of men. So so the stagehands and technicians, while they were restoring the theater, would often see a beautiful woman in a 1920s green dress walking around the theater before vanishing. And they would kind of catch her out of the corner of their eyes with their flashlights from the beads on her flapper dress.
That's so cool.
Right? This one made me like, whew. So the most recent account is from Disney staffers who were sitting in the office at the theater discussing the film The Artist, which was set in the silent film era. They were wondering how many Follies girls became film stars, and they mentioned Olive Thompson as one. And then somebody said the real star of the silent era was Mary Pickford, which was Olive's sister-in-law. And then there was a quote, "Now maybe Olive got a little upset, because when someone said, "I wonder what Olive Thompson would think of the artist," a stack of 13 DVDs on a table next to them flew into the air and crashed against a wall. So she was
This
like,
is shit.
"When you talk about my sister-in-law, I'm the star."
Oh my god.
They made it to, they said they didn't fall straight down like DVDs would. They literally flew 3 feet across the room and hit a wall.
Girl, I mean, listen, she's mad. Like,
I
give
know.
her
She's
props.
like, I'm the star. She likes the attention. And then this, I also like this one. I always like these stories. So, shortly after Aladdin opened in 2014, an audience member came to the ushers during the performance and asked if she could have a booster seat for her kid. And the ushers basically were like, "We don't want to interrupt the show, but we'll bring one for you during intermission." So during intermission, the usher brought her a booster seat, and her kid was already in a booster seat. And they were like, "Oh, where'd you get this one?" And she said, "Oh, the lady in the back of the theater brought it to us in the middle of the show."
Oh my god, I love this.
The usher was very confused because they don't have a woman or usher in the back of the house who would do that in the middle of the show. There also weren't any like female ushers that would have done that. And when he asked her to describe her, she was not somebody that they had on staff.
Oh my god.
Mm-hmm.
I love it.
I know, I love that one too. The other one was for when Lion King opened. Somebody wrote a review that basically said, "We really love it how some of your ushers are in like period garb. It really adds to the antiqueness of the theater, showing us our seats." And they were like, "We don't do that." So the thought was that was probably Olive helping out the audience to enjoy their time. So now since the theater is up and running, ushers and overnight security have often felt being touched on the back, and felt like somebody is sneaking up on them and kind of playing like a practical joke. But when they turn around, no one is there. The most famous account for an overnight security guard made him so scared that he called the Disney VP and the police. So apparently he was patrolling the theater, felt a tap on his shoulder, turned around, saw a woman in a flapper dress disappear through the wall.
Oh, shit.
And that spooked him so hard that he called the Disney VP and the police and then quit the next day.
Okay, first of all, I feel like the only thing that was necessary to do is just quit.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
I know. Well,
first of all, what are the cops gonna do?
I know they apparently came though. They came and investigated and all that kind of stuff and found nothing. So
yeah, duh.
Yeah, right.
Next time, call Steve Gonsalves because, like,
you know. I know, right? So Olive Thompson wasn't necessarily like poltergeisty. She didn't do anything like extra mean. She just really wanted attention, which, to be fair, looking back on her life, kind of makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it does.
So, she usually isn't around during actual performances necessarily. Like, she's usually most present when the theater is kind of empty. But either way, because of these occurrences, to try and kind of keep Olive at bay, because she loves attention, before you enter into the theater, there is a large portrait of Olive Thompson. Olive Thomas, so patrons can see her and greet her before going into the show, which I think is very cute. There are lots of other portraits of past performers and all that kind of stuff, but she's the one that you see right before. And there's another picture of her in the lobby as well. And then this is the one that you were mentioning. There's also a picture of Olive at every single backstage exit of the theater for staff and actors to pass. And it has become a tradition, as well as a little bit of a superstition, for the actors to say hello and goodbye to her every single day.
I love that.
But anyway, so that is the story of the New Amsterdam Theater and Olive.
That's awesome. Good job. Yay!
Thank you.
All right, y'all. I guess that's it. We got to
That's
think of a
it.
good sign off. What's our
I
sign
know,
off?
right? I'm like, I feel like it should be like, have a good night, and don't forget to leave the ghost light on.
You get it.
Until next time, don't forget to leave the ghost light on. Thank you for joining us. Leave the Ghost Light On was created, hosted, and edited by Danica Jackson and Jill Horn.
Musical composition created by Jay Nygaard.
Follow us on Instagram, YouTube, Twitch, Spotify, and more.